Welcome back. This morning we are talking a little bit more about the state's new SAFE-T Act that begins January 1st.
State Rep La Shawn Ford is again joining us. He was with us in the 5 to talk about his willingness to tweak this law so that it's clear for everyone. So, La Shawn, I want to thank you again for coming back and rejoining us. As you know, La Shawn, we have spoken over the past week or so with a former Illinois state's attorney and also a retired Cook County judge about specific scenarios and how the law would be enforced. So I want to pose a scenario to you as well. And here it is. This is a drug charge, La Shawn. In this case, it would be a 19-year-old pulled over. Police find marijuana in the car, and because it's illegal to transport weed openly in a vehicle, police take him into custody and charge him. The judge sets bond at $5,000, but he can't pay that. In this case, you say what?
I say, Scott, today that a person like that that's not a threat to the community or anyone in particular will be held in a county jail, and taxpayers will be paying for that person to be locked up. We need to make sure that that type of person goes on some type of community service, but taxpayers should not be paying for a person like that. Therefore, in January, a person that's caught with marijuana will not be detained in a county jail if they're not a threat to the community.
All right, let's talk about another one, because this happens to a lot of people, people who may be delinquent on their child support payments. So you have a man or a woman, and they're supposed to be paying their child support. They're not, apparently, and then it gets reported to the state. The state makes a case before a judge, and then the judge issues an arrest warrant. We see that happen a lot. Once they're arrested, they're brought to court. The judge says you're not going to be released until you can make child support payments current, which could be, in some cases, thousands of dollars. What do you want the public to know about this kind of situation?
That there are people right now, Anita, that's in a county jail because they cannot come current on their child support. We don't support deadbeat parents, but we know taxpayers should not be paying to keep someone incarcerated because they are delinquent on their child support. We need those people to go to work, and we need those people to support their children. Come January, if that person is not a risk to the community or a person in particular, the courts will measure the assessment, the risk assessment, and that person will no longer be on taxpayers locked up in a county jail.
So clearly in these scenarios, there seems to be a current theme, and that these individuals are not a risk to the general public. And that would be true of this case as well. A person is in a store outside of Cook County, tries to steal about $250 in merchandise. Police are called. The suspect is arrested. This is a nonviolent person who poses no risk to the public and is not considered a flight risk. Does the judge let them go or keep them pending bail?
Well, this person, everything, Scott, will be based on the judge's discretion. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that the legislature has given full discretion to the judges. And so we want to make it clear that we recommend to the courts by law that if a person does not pose a threat to anyone in particular or to the community at large, that they should not be held in a county jail, and bond should not be necessary.
Okay, well, La Shawn, let's talk about a violent case here, because this is the concern for a lot of prosecutors and judges. We gave this one to a prosecutor the other day, and I want to share this with you. So you have a suspect who pulls a woman into a van against her will, and he holds her until he decides what he wants to do with her. That would be considered kidnapping. Now, she gets away. She gives a description. He's caught, arrested, and charged. Now what?
That person, Anita, is a threat to the person that they apprehended and a threat to other people in the community. And the judge has the power and the discretion, and the prosecutors have the power to recommend that that person is detained. The law that we pass will make sure a person like that cannot buy themselves out of jail. Today, that person, because they have money, could possibly be walking the streets again simply because they have money. But not January 1. A person like that will be held in the county jail.
Okay.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah.
La Shawn Ford, always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Thank you for being fair and balanced.
All right. Thank you.